Hello and welcome to episode 111 of the Cutie Art Crusaders for August 26th, 2014. My name is Rainbowplasma. I'm the organizer and this week's editor. No, I'm not. You're editing, aren't you?
I'm editing.
I'm just the organizer this week. And you know what? I'll be the question master too, because it's just me and my friend.
This guy, Bernd 01, the special guest. Wow. Every week. Coordinator. And this week I'm also going to be editing. And yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, well, as you can probably tell immediately, there's two big things. One, it's just me and Bernd, so hi. And second of all, we've got webcams going. So I bought a webcam today, and I was going to try it out, and we figured it's just the two of us. Why not do something a bit special?
Just the two of us.
And just, I don't know, do something crazy, do something
Wing
different,
it.
you know?
Yeah, right?
So we're recording each other's screens. I'm just going to, like, double check to make sure I'm recording. I am. That's great.
We're good.
And yeah. So I mean, we had so many technical difficulties today, Bernd.
Today sucked, dude.
Oh my god.
Sucked.
So like, first of all, like Ted was away first, right?
Yeah.
But like, what else do we have? Like,
so, well, before that even, like, I have a huge story about just the awful, crappiness that has been going on with my computer. Like, I've been wanting to edit like BronyCon footage and a bunch of other stuff like that. But my Windows has been, like, corrupting and just going awful, so my whole computer has just been a crapshoot. Yeah. And so I had to reinstall Windows. So this is my new install of Windows, and I just installed everything I need to record with. I don't even have Sony Vegas installed yet, and I've got to edit with that. So I've got to install that tonight. Yeah, that's great. And then I finally installed it, and while we were getting ready to record, I was having, like, audio errors and audio glitches and a bunch of other crap, and it was just... Ugh. Yeah. So, like, that, like, technical difficulties on my end for the past month, which is why, like, I don't have any of my BronyCon interviews up. Ted's been exporting them. So that's been my issue. And then Ted's not here this week. And then we were trying to get Atmospark to, or Joel, if you will, to record with us this week and, like, actually get him on here. Not with, like, the webcam, just, like, get him on. And his internet wasn't working because apparently when it rains in Australia, internet goes out.
He also managed to crash two computers, too, so...
Yeah, he's like, oh, no, I'll just use my girlfriend's computer. Like, no problem, just use Silver's. It's just like...
He touches it. He touches it for 1 second. By the way, it's going to be really fun to edit out that swear word that you just did.
What did I do? Crap.
Yeah, never mind. You'll figure it out. But, yeah, like he touched Silver's computer for 1 second, and it crashed. Like, literally, he touched it, and it crashed. So... yeah. Anyways, we thought that we'd do something fun because it's just the two of us, and today has been such a crazy day that we do something fun.
Hey, Max.
What's up?
Can I drink this on?
Yeah, you can drink beer on the podcast.
Okay, I'm just gonna, like, cover that up.
There you go. Yeah. Nondescript alcoholic substance.
Sorry, it's gonna
be fun.
There's every episode now and then, like, I'll have a beer just to relax and to make this more casual because I have fun with it, and then I was like just about to drink it and like I was can I do that?
Yeah. Well, it's been really weird with the webcam stuff because like we've like set up our room and stuff, and I had to like clean and make my bed.
We didn't set this up at all.
No,
we didn't
I
plan
always
this.
have ponies on.
No, whenever
my
we
bed.
record the show, these guys are always like right over my shoulder, and this is always right in the corner of my web camera, always 100% of the time.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, this is gonna be fun. I have no idea how this is gonna be edited. Luckily, the two of us seem to be pretty good at talking, so there won't have to be too many.
It's funny because they're both going to be looking down because, like, I can't look at you when I talk for some reason. I have to look at myself. The preview window
is underneath where the actual webcam is, so...
I gotta make sure I don't look like a derp. Let me just, like...
Yeah.
We were making that joke before the cast. It's like, I know I'm going to pick my nose, and when I do, I'll be like, oh yeah, no, this art's fantastic. No, it's absolutely, the colorfuls are wonderful.
Wait, I've got to stop making stupid faces because people are going to screen cap this.
Oh my god,
it's gonna be so bad.
Oh god.
Oh, the bad decision. Or catching up with already. So there's a couple other things that we're doing that's a bit different this week. One of the things that we're doing is we're going to switch up, just for this week, just to test it out, we're going to switch up the way that we do themes. because we were trying to come up with a theme, and we weren't really getting anything. And because again, it's just the two of us, right? Like we wanted to do something cool and different. So we're going to have 2 pieces each. So I picked 2 pieces, and Bernd picked 2 pieces, and we don't know what each other's pieces are.
Took me
and
long enough.
We're just gonna throw them at each other
We're just
and like,
gonna.
talk about them. Yeah, we're just gonna throw them at each other and you know, see what comes out of it, and that way we get to pick art pieces that we really like think are great and that we have a lot to talk about. And I don't know, like we've been thinking about it's been hard to do themes recently because the more and more themes we do, the more and more we limit ourselves, and we've started like I guess grasping at straws a little bit and kind of coming up with stuff last minute. So
well, it's hard to make a decent theme. Like last week, you guys did really well, and like apologies I couldn't be there. My dad wanted to go to a car show with me, and like I don't spend enough time with my father, so I wasn't gonna say no. But like last week when you guys had like the whole Twilight's library, like before, during the fight, then after, like that was cool. That was great. I really like that. Like that's a legit theme. And then we have artistic themes we want to do too, but it's hard to do both, like lay out a scene like that of like pieces that actually like tie together, and then also like artistic themes of like here's composition or color or whatever, you know. Like we want to do those, but it's like it takes a lot more work and time than we physically have to give.
And
you know what I mean?
Sometimes it ends up with us not really being like super satisfied with what we're putting out too, because it's like, oh, I want to be able to feature this piece, but I can't. I've had many pieces that I've been like, I really want to feature this piece, and we try to like figure out a way to get it in there, and it's been like 30 episodes, and I'm just sitting there like, I want to feature this piece.
There's a bunch of pieces that like I look at like, oh, that's pretty, and then I just forget that like, oh, I should probably put those in somewhere so I could feature them, and they're just lost in the depths of my 100 pages of favorites.
Yeah. So anyways, we're gonna try this week. I don't know where we're gonna go from here. If it goes over well, then maybe we might move to this in the future. But you know, this is the week of crazy experimentation apparently for episode 111. So
well, like it's just me and you, like Pinkidish. Atmospark
like
couldn't
two
do
names
it.
Wrong.
Atmospark couldn't do it. Ted couldn't come here, so it's just you and I. So it's gonna be the Rainbowplasma and Bernd show.
Yeah.
And here we go with like us talking casually. We're like the Rooster Teeth podcast. Look at us.
Exactly.
We're like Gus.
Super casual.
Does that mean I get to be Bernie, or is it vice versa?
So there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about, but I think I'm gonna save it until we do the plugs because it's related to that. It's about the questions thing.
Okay, sure.
So I'm just going to save that until the end. But we have news about questions and stuff as well. Man, we're changing up everything on this episode. It's crazy. So, yeah, I guess without further ado, we should move on to the art then.
Art! So who goes first? You go first?
I can go first if you want. Let me just pop it open here. Man, this is... okay. So the very first one... I have completely screwed this up. I'm so sorry.
What have you done?
Okay, this is the first one. There you go. Bernd's immediately going to know exactly. He's going to be like, oh yeah, that one. So the very first one that I did was called A Friendly Game by I Am Not. And it's a scene where Rainbow Dash and Twilight are playing some sort of strategy board game. Almost looks like chess, maybe?
Our game really theme, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, we were going to do like a game theme, but then like none of those came up properly. And it's just... Anyways, I want to feature this one. I love this piece. I think it's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I guess just going off of like what I want to talk about this piece. There's just, you know, I've talked in the past about how I really love I Am Not style, and I think that is something that is a huge part of why I love this piece. He's got this really interesting way of following the show a little bit. Because, you know, he's obviously got the outlines and the similar kind of simple outline and fill, but then he adds so much more to it, you know, like with the different gradients and with his facial expressions and things like that. And it almost looks kind of
scrunchy face,
anime manga-ish. And yeah, there's also a Rainbow Dash scrunchy face, of course. But this one's also really cool because of the lighting. Like it's really dim lighting, which is what I've talked about before.
It's mood exactly. Lighting.
Very moody. You've got candles there, and that's the only light that's out, and that's cool because, you know, like it's. I've talked in the past about some people are afraid to put their characters in the dark, and I think that I Am Not Here is kind of. It's not quite fully in the dark, but it's definitely. He's not afraid to put some stuff in the dark.
He's not a coward when it comes to lighting.
Yeah.
He's a man.
Exactly. And I think he also incorporated some cool stuff to do with like mixing what looks like real stuff with cartoon stuff. But yeah, go ahead, Bernd.
Yes, he did. No, he does have that kind of like close to realism, like I think comes from his concept art background, where like the board game, and so like the windows and the environment looks extremely realistic. Tangible is a fancy pants word, where it looks like we can see this in the real world, you know. I don't know if you mentioned it. My favorite part is the kind of the focus, the depth of focus, if whatever you want to call it, depth of field.
Yeah.
Like where we have a blurry thing going on in the foreground that makes it feel like the camera in which we are looking at this is placed on the shelf, like placed on this little bookshelf and looking at them play. So it's like we are a part of the environment, and it personalizes the viewer and makes you feel like you're actually in this scene looking at it, rather than like looking at like a screenshot or a piece of like pony art. When you put things like that in your face, it makes you feel like you are enwrapped or in something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really like that. And then like obviously like you have the background outside of the window that's again like not in the field. And also reflective like lighting going on the window too. Like that's something I noticed that's done well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice touch.
Yeah, the background is really interesting because you have a lot of like distortion through the window, almost like they're really, really old windows. And they're kind of warping the view because I'm not a history major, and I don't really know too much about glass, but I would suspect that in earlier designs I guess like older times, that it was harder to make the kind of glass that we see nowadays, which is like perfectly like see-through and no warping at all.
Yeah.
So
I know I am not uses Photoshop, and so like I can kind of tell the kind of Photoshop wizardry he has going on with the window and stuff. Cool. And something that you'll notice that is again like a big thing of Photoshop that you can't do in other art programs is he really likes to play with the like colors and values of strokes on the characters. So like how he's outlining the character. So like how he kind of makes this weird like cartoon-ish realistic style is he'll take the strokes like on like let's look at Fluttershy for Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash for example. And if you look at her strokes, the strokes that are in the dark, like where she's sitting, are very dark colorly. Words. The strokes on the left-hand side and below are very dark, but when it gets close to the light, the strokes will change color. They shift color. So like the lines themselves are changing color, not just like the character and how it's colored. And what that is, it's the lines and illustration work is on a layer, and then in Photoshop you can clip to a layer, and then you can change those colors and like draw on just those outlines. That's something you saw in like an Applejack piece we featured once, with like the wind going on in the background and stuff. Like her outlines drastically change color. So the same thing's going on in Twilight. If you look at like her hoof is like really like kind of bright orange, and then her nose and ear like gets darker. So like it's part like this kind of digital painting and like making it look part of the environment, and then making this the cartoon outline, what is like a very cartoony illustration thing, like the outline of the character, like physically making it look like it's part of the scene and like exists in the world when it doesn't, because like a cartoony like illustration thing like physically is untangible, it is unrealistic. And so to like color it and shade it and value it like that makes it look believable, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I also find it interesting that like they have very, very explicit white outlines on them, right? Like both Rainbow Dash and Twilight on it, like when they face the middle, so Rainbow Dash's right-hand side and Twilight's left-hand side, they both have like really, really white outlines, and so it first of all makes them pop from the background, but it also like it very much is something that you wouldn't see in the real world, and it registers as like this isn't something that you would see, but because of all the lighting that he puts on the rest of the character, it still feels like they fit in the scene. They don't match with the like furniture and like the windows and stuff, but they still match with the scene because the lighting I think is done so well, and that it's very, very believable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely something that I am not likes to do, is that kind of like out of place white outline on one side of the character. Does that a lot in his work.
Yeah. I just enjoy his style, man. Like I don't even know what it is about it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just that style of pony. He's done it in a couple things. Like you said, the Applejack Wind one was another one. It's just, I don't know, man. It's a really good, it's probably my favorite pony style that I've seen in the fandom, which is cool considering we kind of inspired him to start posting his art.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah, no. I remember sending him a note when he like noted me and that he doesn't like have like a thing, or they didn't want to like post pony art or whatever. And I remember like physically like contacting him and talking to him on DeviantArt through notes, like, dude, you should do this. And it was so awesome when he did, and I'm so glad that he did, dude.
Yeah.
He's really opened up too since we've been talking to him on Skype. It's awesome.
Yeah. He's a good guy. Yeah, I think that's about what I have to say about it. This is one of my favorite pieces. It's definitely in my wallpapers rotation. I think it's 16 by 9. I don't remember exactly. So if it's very close, so that's a thumbs up for me. I could put it in my wallpapers without having to do too much, jangling.
Colors. That's something I was going to mention. Like the color scheme of what's going on, you'll notice that everything like fits in together. Everything is like has this kind of sheet of constant hue going on. I don't know what to call it. An atmosphere. That was what I was looking for. Like, it is very warm. It is very kind of cozy colors going on. A lot of violets, a lot of oranges and reds. And it doesn't stray too kind of like far from that, with the exception of like the bright orange of the candles and the kind of like Rainbow Dash's colors. But everything is kind of this brownish red, warm color in the entire scene. And then like the outside actually looks a little different than that. And you can tell it looks a little colder outside, but it lends into this kind of like cozy, like indoors, like playing this little nerdy game, whatever they're doing, role playing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there dice? I don't see dice. So
it looks like some sort of like pony variation on chess or something. What is she even reading? Little Red Cookbook. And I don't know what's in the background. Like, yeah, it's way too small. It's probably something like, if you can read this, how can you even read this or something? I remember when I was doing art, I used to write in like stupid stuff for all my text.
I imagine there probably is something written there, but it's just not high enough resolution for us to be able to make it out.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask. I am not. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, we'll have to ask him. Yeah, and just the final thing I wanted to say on it, I thought that was really impressive that he could do candlelight and it looks fine, even if you look right at it. You know, I think oftentimes you'll have certain parts of your piece which look great when you're not focusing on them, and then you look at them and it's like, oh, that's a bit, it's a bit off, or it's a bit weird. And I can stare right at that flame right at the very front, and I'm like, yep, that's believable. And it's part of it's because it's blurred so much, but I think it's cool that I can look at that and say that's totally believable, and it totally makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. It's shiny.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing that he can make a believable scene considering his style, which is not very realistic, you know,
cartoony, illustrated.
It's pretty cool. All right, so why don't we alternate then, Bernd? Do you wanna do one of yours next then?
My turn.
Yeah.
Okay. I got this one. Hopefully, we haven't featured this one, have we?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. I don't think we featured this one. I've wanted to feature this one by SpaceKid a lot. This is Mare in the Moon by SpaceKid. I don't think we featured this one. There's actually like a whole plethora of Luna and like Nightmare Moon pieces that I want to feature, but it's like we've done that. We've been there like 3 times, and I just like, I want to feature them. Like there's another one, like there's this really crazy one with like Luna melting and like a moon going through her skull. That's all weird really and crazy,
like but certain characters, and it's hard for us when we have a theme about a character. So just put a technical difficulties and we'll cut right here. It's hard when we have a bunch of, these pieces that we want to feature that are of these characters like Luna or Octavia or Vinyl, and we have one theme that encompasses that, and then we can never feature it again unless we have some sort of unless we like finagle it into a theme somehow, and so that's kind of the disadvantage to having. There was an advantage for sure of having themes, but there's also this disadvantage. So I mean, part of doing this is we're able to just feature it regardless of the fact that we featured a lot of Luna pieces, but guess what? There's a lot of good Luna pieces out there, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot that I want to feature. Anywho, this has just been a really pretty one that's been on my mind and like in the back of like my like favorites that I really wanted to feature for a while. And it's cute. I like it. There's nothing like there's no super artistic points that I want to make about it. It's like vertical composition, characters towards the bottom. It's just pretty. I really like the color. Like the whole thing is really just like a solid, like almost monotone blue. Like the whole thing is just like one big analogous shade of blue. Like obviously there's a lot of bright colors of cyan and stuff, so it kind of shifts from like an almost violet to like kind of like bright cyanish greenish blue, whatever you want to call it, like in the clouds and obviously in like Luna's outlines and stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say there's a little bit of red or pink in the moon, but not a lot.
Not a lot,
just like
for sure.
the whole composition of this thing is just like lots of Luna blue.
but the cool thing is that like even though it doesn't stray very far like on the hue scale, like in terms of the different lightnesses that it touches, it kind of goes all over the place. You know, you've got all the way up to like very, 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 very light blue, and you get all the way down to very, very, very dark blue. So even though you're on like one part of the hue, you explore all of the lightness, and you explore like to a certain extent all of the saturation as well. And it's really cool how even though something is so monochromatic,
yep, nailed it
still doesn't feel like this is all the same color. You know, there's a lot of variation still there, and then the artist just says, all right, I'm limiting myself in terms of this color, but what variations can I give to the piece if I'm just using this one color? Okay, I can use lightness. Okay, I can use all these different things.
Yes. Something else that I really like is the fact of how bright the moon is, and it looks really bright. Like just when you're looking at it, like on your monitor, like you can tell that it is physically bright. And like how it does that is that everything around the moon basically is this kind of like really dark blue, and then the moon itself is like obviously like one of the brightest values in the entire piece, and it kind of seems to glow, and there is a little bit of a glow around it, and then like goes like on top of Luna, and then like kind of into the space area around it. But like it physically seems like it's bright and like actually glows. And, like that was a really nice touch and something that's very catchy, very eye-catching in the piece. That like you have Luna kind of placed on this like very cartoony moon, you know, like just the scene itself is kind of, you know, laughable and cartoony, where she's like, it's that physical cutout moon, and she's kind of like laying on it in like this crazy like space, like cloud environment that he's built with all like really bright stars and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's funny, you were talking about the glow of the moon, and I think that kind of does an interesting thing because there is a bit of actual glow effect, right? There is some light coming off of the moon. You can see it, especially on Luna's body, you know, where that kind of, you do see a little bit of that glow. But I think what also happens is because of the contrasting colors, you know, the actual physical glow just starts your brain off, you know? It kind of suggests to your brain that it's glowing a bit. And then, you know, I think you kind of, when you look at it, you kind of take it and expand it further, and you make it so much more than it actually is. Because if you look at it really objectively, it doesn't really have that much glow, but it seems like it has so much more because of these contrasting colors. So it's almost like it gives a suggestion that it's glowing, and then your brain kind of runs with it.
What catches me so much is just how like bright it is in comparison. Like even on my monitor, it's kind of that pure shade of white, contrasting with like, you know, the DeviantArt background and then the dark blues. So it's like it is physically like I am bright.
Yeah.
But I've always just really liked this piece because I've always felt it's just been really visual pleasing. Like I've liked the colors. I've really liked how they blend. I think Luna's like style, which is something we have to talk about because is fantastic. And SpaceKid always has a really, really unique and cute cartoony style. That was something we talked about in like the vinyl scratch that we featured. It's like how he does outlines, like the outlines of the hair, like there's outlines present and then there's outlines not present. So like Luna doesn't have outlines in some places of like her body, and like in some areas, I guess there is a little like black outlines or darker outlines, but then you have like her hair, which is like a really bright, like white outline, like whitish cyan or whatever.
Yeah.
And almost a like Tron hoof things. But
yeah, those are cool. I like those.
Even just her eyes and expression are really, really adorable. And I want to talk about that too. I really like how SpaceKid does eyes. I actually have kind of modeled how I do eyes after it. It's always a really thick eyelash, and then the eye color and iris, it isn't like black middle for the pupil and then like normal blue gradient for the eye color. it's like a very bright color in the eye, sometimes has a gradient, and then it's like 2 white eye shines that are kind of like at angles, and then the pupil is always white. It's always bright, like this disc, like a beacon almost. It's never like a plain black. I think it's only a couple pieces in his gallery where the pupil's a plain black. And so like when I am drawing now and like drawing in Inkscape or whatever, like I will kind of do my pupils or eyes like that because I like it. It's more catching. I feel like it brings more personality or life to the character.
It's also got like a thick black outline on the outside of the iris,
yeah,
which is something that you don't really see, and it gives it kind of kind of like an anime feel. Thick black outlines, or a comic book maybe is a better word.
Yeah, very comic-y.
Yeah, I really like it too. And you mentioned before about the stars, and I think that the stars are really well done as well. And I mean, like, people might look at that and like, oh, whatever, like they're stars, like it's just dots, right? But we've seen tons of pieces where the stars just look off, and that's one of those things that it's kind of like you make it or you break it, and this makes it.
Well, yeah, and I think when we talk about why it makes it is because they're all done in a very similar fashion. Like, they're all done in the exact same style, just in different, like, shapes and variations. So they're all kind of that, like, plus or cross with, like, a dot and, like, a little white, like, glow around it. Where sometimes people just, like, they'll dot with their, like, brush and, like, a digital brush or something, and it ends up being really plain or boring. But like the little cross or plus on it, like it's actually twinkling, and on the larger stars is like a really nice touch, and it helps break up the monotony of like the white dots in the background, you know? Because if they were all just white dots, like it would look all right, but it wouldn't be as interesting. It wouldn't have that little extra flair.
Yeah, I mean, like, first of all, you have to get past the whole, you know, making sure that you've got too many or too little, and how much is that going? But then, even if you do it well, and there's size variation between the dots, and they're placed in a kind of semi-random way, if you've got a lot of stars, it's still going to look bad, even if you try your best at it, you know? So having those kind of cross stars, and also the shooting star kind of, like you said, breaks up the monotony. It doesn't create this... If they didn't have them, there'd be this big space above Luna where nothing was there, you know? And I think it would look worse for it.
Yeah, because like, I like a lot of like kind of larger spaces and pieces that makes it a little bit more interesting. Like this one's almost done with rule of thirds. Like you have Luna in the 1/3 and then the top area in another third. But it makes it a little more interesting. You do kind of look at the bottom area, but like there's still substance in the top that is still like pretty, you know?
Yeah. And I like the way that because we have to move on. But I like the way that the stars also kind of transition seamlessly into her mane. Like it's almost it's see-through.
Also, there's a texture on it, which is very Trilesque, you know?
Right.
There's like in the bottom of the clouds, there's like a papery texture.
Oh, yeah. Very subtle. Very subtle. But yeah.
But it helps give it that kind of like tangible
same with the background of the stars up above. You got a bit, like just little bits of texture. It's a great technique.
The clouds are also like kind of layered, almost like a Paper Mario. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like that stage setup.
You know how to get me right here, Bernd.
All right.
Oh. All right, I guess this is my second piece then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my second piece, if I ever find the right place to paste this, is by the Wizard of Art, and it's called Afternoon Tea. And this is a piece that I've been, again, trying to find for a long time, a way to kind of shoehorn it in. We almost got it in the theme that we were going to do this week before we decided to do this whole shebang. So this piece to me, the Wizard of Art in general, there's one big standout thing to me, and there's so much to talk about with the Wizard of Art because he's such a great artist. But the one thing that stands out to me all the time, every time, facial expressions.
Is he?
Facial expressions. Like it's amazing, you know. Like just in this piece alone, like take a look at Shining Armor, you know, young Shining Armor. Take a look at who is that on the right? I don't even fancy. I don't know who that is, and people are going to hate me. Look at Pony number 2.
Yeah, on the right there.
Like look at you know, their Twilight Velvets. Like, is that her name? Twilight's
mom.
Twilight's mom.
How about that?
look at like it's great. I love it. And we had other pieces on by him, and all of their facial expressions are amazing, and they're so expressive, but they're not too over the top. Like they're not super cartoony, but they kind of like reach the peak of expressiveness while still seeming like a real scene. I love it, man. I love it. I just want to have it. I would love to have a Wizard of Art original. That'd be crazy.
It's cute. I always like his watercolors. Like, they're always really well done. Like the colors never like, they're always kind of like separate, and there's not too many like flowy into each other. It always seems very kind of like illustrated. Like the outlines are always like colored.
I just find it amazing that this is watercolor and you can do this with watercolor. You know, because like prior to this podcast, my experience with watercolor was like grade school. You know? Exactly. Yeah. Like you did watercolor and it looked kind of crappy, and you were like, you know what? I understand people who had more experience could do something better than that, but I never thought it could reach this, where I'd look at that and, you know, it could totally pass as not being watercolor. You know, it's so detailed, it's so precise, you know? There's a lot of things that just look like how did you possibly do that the first time? How is that even possible, you know?
It's a very, very careful medium. Like there's a little bit of leeway in like how he did the grass and like the bush and stuff and the tree. It's a little splotchy, but like even those splotches look very illustrated. But in areas like underneath the table, like that shadow, like it's a different shade of green. It's a turquoise green. It's the same thing with the shadow of the bush on the right-hand side. Like, that's like another different shade of green, and then like the grass is over it and blah. And like the tablecloth, like those are shades of red and like peach or whatever that is, pink. And like you can't mess that up, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to watercolor. And so like those are different shades of color, and then you have another wash of like shadow or shading over that.
Yeah. If you look at the background, the very far background, so I guess you got candlelight in the background, and then you've got like clouds and sky and stuff. If you were to just separate that out, that to me seems like good watercolor, but that's the kind of thing that I would think you'd be able to achieve. And then you come down here, and that's what really gets me, is the details, you know, the amount of detail that he's managed to put in this, even though it's a watercolor. And I'd love to know how he does it, whether or not it's just like, oh, you know, it just takes me a long time, or like I'm just very slow with it, or if he uses some other technique to kind of help him kind of iron out those details.
Watercolor itself is really fascinating because like you lay down like the first pigments, and then anything else you put over that is going to mix into it. It's going to reactivate that pigment, and depending on how long you let it dry. I remember at BronyCon we were walking by Fleabite's table, and she was like making a watercolor commission, and I was like, oh, like that looks really good, and she's like, oh yeah, it's just the first wash, like I'm still going to do shading after this. It's like it already looked like amazing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the blue guy, what is that, Twilight's dad? Like on left-hand side, like if you look at the colors in him, or like on him, like on his coat, there's the dark blue, then there's the blue that is his coat, and then there's like the yellow accents on the right-hand side, and that yellow is mixing with the blue, making a green. And that's kind of happening on all the characters, but more like he's more green than the other three characters, because like he has a blue coat. So like that's one of those examples where there was the blue there, and then when the yellow like went on top of it as like the yellow light that is the sun, it like mixed with that pigment and then made a green, whether that was the intention or not, you know, like it's this medium like at play, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really cool. According to MLP Wiki, it's Twilight Velvet and Night Light. So there you go. Apparently his name is Nightlight.
All right.
I can't believe I actually got her mom's name right. That's pretty cool. It's really just the precision of it just astonishes me, and that's what really gets me about it. And like for example, let me point your attention to adorable little baby Twilight, who, by the way, is like one of the only depictions of babies baby ponies that I've seen that doesn't creep me out.
Yeah, because it's the ones bleedy, they have in the beady
show,
eyes, right?
Yeah, the ones in the show I hate. They're so creepy, and like everybody uses those versions of it for some reason. But God, do I hate those? And but this one is like, why can't this be a thing? Like, look at how cute it is. Just make them smaller and make their eyes bigger. There, you know.
Yeah.
Don't make them like black, sightless, horrible things.
Little bugs.
Yeah, but like, how would you even like
zoom in on that. Like, how do you even get like the pink in her hair? Like Cadence in the background, and oh, this must be Fancy Pants because that's Fleur-de-Lis in the background.
Yes.
Yeah, that must be it. There we go.
Yes.
I didn't recognize him because doesn't he have a mustache or something?
Yes. Yes, he does.
Look like mummified. But like the two of them in the background, those two girls in the background, you know, like getting Cadence's hair just right. Like, I wonder how, because this is a scan, right? This is traditional. Like, we know this. I wonder how big it actually is, you know, because I think that makes a huge difference. Because maybe
I would assume it's a solid sheet of watercolor paper.
Yeah.
Like.
So, like, you know, generally this big, but like that's about as big as it is on my screen, and I can't imagine painting that.
Not like an 8x11, like a bigger, like actual illustration-ish.
But I've got it like almost full screen to my screen, and I can't imagine doing it even then. You know, it's crazy. Yeah. I don't know. He impressed. That's really all I have to say about it. His art always impresses me. It's really, really impressive. It's super expressive to me. It's got a really, the expressions have a really human vibe to them. He really brings out the human, you know, because there's a lot of things in the show. It's one of the reasons why people really enjoy MLP. It's that they keep the characters very human. You know, they don't try to be like, look at this, they're cartoon horses that are talking. It's like, no, they have very human traits, and they just happen to be animals. You know. And he kind of brings out that side in them with his facial expressions and things like that. He really kind of makes them seem like and even their poses, right? I mean, like look at how Fancy Pants is, or whatever his name is.
That's what I was doing earlier.
Is like sitting in his chair, you know, like that's a very human thing. Look at how Shining Armor's like sitting at the table, like that's very human-esque. Everything in it kind of speaks to be human except for the dad Nightlight. So he kind of brings that out. Yeah. And then it's like, all weird. And it's almost like if you took him out of the picture, are those horses burned?
Yes.
Okay.
They're horses in human poses, but they're horses.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's all I had to say about it. I really enjoy Wizard of Art stuff. His expressions are great. That's what stands out to me the most. And God, it impresses me.
As watercolor as a medium it's a very light pigment too. Like it's kind of it's in the middle. Like it's not super watered, super light pigment, because like watercolor has a scale of like a lot of water and a little bit of pigment, and there's like the medium, which was called Wizard of Art, where it's like kind of a mixture, an even mixture between like pigment and the water, and then you have like a really heavy pigment, like what was that girl? We saw her at BronyCon this year. She did like the Sakura and Twilight, like looking into the pot, that I think we featured in that one episode.
Oh my god! I'm picturing the piece right now, but I can't place it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Does she do watercolor?
Yeah, like all those pieces are watercolor, and like it's what she specializes in. That's what she does commissions in and stuff like that. But I can't remember the name of the art. We featured it on the show.
Here, keep going. I think I just found it.
Okay. Anywho, but yeah, like that's like the other end of the scale, like the maximum, like lots of pigment or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Yeah. Anywho, but like watercolor again is like so diverse in how you can use it. Like, bleh.
I'm just reverse Google image searching this. Flea bites, isn't it? Or is that? No. Oh, sorry. This is in the more like this section of. It's tea leaf illustrations.
Yes. Correct.
Did that used to be someone else?
Perhaps.
Maybe. But yeah, anyways, the Sakura Twilight one is called Voodoo by Tea Leaf Illustrations.
Yep, thank you.
So, yeah. Yeah, so why don't we move on to your very last one there, Bernd? What's your last one?
My last one is one that we haven't... It's a kind of medium that we're... kind of art that we haven't featured at all on the show.
Okay.
And it's Howard would be proud. It's actually a My Little Pony comic book cover. It's Luna's Curse MLP issue 8 cover by Andy Price Art. It does have a water stamp on it. I apologize for that, but it's on Andy Price's DeviantArt, and like that's where we use and get our art. So it's not like the official comic book cover. If I can find a decent picture of that, I'll use it. But I've been looking at the My Little Pony comics a little bit more after like our press conference with them, and been talking to Mahower. And this piece, before I even like thought about reading the comics has been like a standout piece in my gallery for a long, long time. And I've always really loved this piece. And just like the imagery, the color, the line work, everything in it is just like obviously ridiculously done well and professional, because like that's what Andy Price is he's an illustration, like a comic illustrator and professional. Like that's what he does. That's what this is. And it's fantastic. I love it. Like I can't even begin. But the big point that I guess I'll stick to of why I love this piece is the color, like how it's used. And it's red, blue, and yellow. So it's those three primary colors, and it's what really makes this piece stand out. And there's like two little accent colors, and that's the green on the back of Nightmare Moon, and then like some purple in her eyelashes, like a pink there. But it's just that red, that blue, and that yellow stand out so much, and there's such a huge portion of this piece and how they react to each other that it's what really caught my attention at first and what I really fell in love with. And then the whole like imagery and narrative going on, because like this is a comic cover, and it's like it's an illustrated story being told in kind of like I don't know what you would call a scene like this or a picture like this, but like the physical shadow embodiment of Luna is like Nightmare Moon, and so she's casting a shadow, and then in her shadow is written all of these emotions and these things that, like, when I read it, and like it was something that I thought was really interesting, really kind of grasped me. So you have like envy, guilt, greed, pride, alone, anger, hatred, stuff like that, like physically written on the character, like this overarching like monster like following her, if you will. So it's like it's all of these like kind of graphic imagery things all packed into one single picture. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what a lot of comic book artists have to do, right? I mean, when you have the cover has to almost kind of summarize a part or all of the comic, and it needs to do that while being engaging so that the reader will want to pick it up off the shelf or whatever and read it. But it's got to pack everything together. And that's what's so cool about this, is that it kind of shows the entire narrative, and it gives this depth to Luna and Nightmare Moon, and how you can see that it's almost like a relatable story, you know, because you look at these things and you're like, yeah, she became Nightmare Moon, but look at the reasons why, you know, look at the things that were weighing on her mind, you know, and so that's all what has always been cool to me about comic book covers, is that oftentimes they have to pack so much information in there that they do it in really, really creative ways, and it's amazing how much information that they can convey.
Well, like sometimes they're just simple too. Sometimes just look like the main six, like the first couple comic book covers of the micro series, like they were simple. It was just like the main six. And that was it. It wasn't anything special. So to go from like just drawing the ponies in the comic or something with like no implicit like depth to it, to something as complex as this is like, one, a huge leap, and two, amazingly impressive that it's actually like the physical pony comics that are being made nowadays, and it's like a huge testament to like how awesome and well done they are.
Yeah.
Another touch that I really like is the green on the back of Nightmare Moon, because it's like that kind of like green with envy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's really what it says to me and speaks to me. Like it's that, you know, being green with envy, that green kind of like evil thing. And as Spirit mentioned once, like green and like purples and stuff like that are very like maniacal evil colors. Like she has green eyelashes and that purple kind of, or that green like hue on her back, like purple and green. That's a very like, it's a Joker-esque color. That's like that evil witch or queen, or think of any evil witch or any evil queen. It's always those kind of color schemes.
If you look too, so look at the billowing mane of Nightmare Moon, right? And the colors that are associated with that. And then look at Luna. You know, both of them start with the same blue, but Luna starts introducing more of an icy, lighter blue, and Nightmare Moon fades into this darker, deeper purple. You know, it's a very little touch, but it shows the kind of polarizing of the two characters and how you're supposed to feel about them and how they kind of are represented emotionally.
Yep. And then like the angle too of the clouds is also very dynamic. There's something even written on her horn. No, jealousy. Okay.
Jealousy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like the angle of the clouds one.
Sorry, that looks like it says Geousy.
Yeah.
It looks like it says Jeauousy.
Yeah. It's supposed to be jealousy.
I think, yeah, it's supposed to be jealousy, but that's pretty funny. Yeah. No, the angle is a really good point, and the angle kind of matches up with the angle of her mane, like Nightmare Moon's mane
also,
as well.
It kind of matches the diagonal composition that is going on here. So like you have the helmet.
Shadow too.
Yeah, like the helmet in the bottom left, and then like the shadow and everything is angling upwards. And something I've also mentioned on the show is horizontal or diagonal angles like that create drama. They create a very dramatic effect, excitement, energy. Like that's what diagonals do. Like anything like placed at a diagonal is something like in movement. It's not flat, it's not solid, it's not vertical, it's not like rigid. It's, you know, it creates this more dramatic scene with all the diagonals going on, with like the clouds like angling downward and like the Nightmare Moon, whatever, like going over. So like again, and also the hair, the mane, it's also wrapping around Luna as well. If you notice like how that curved background or like foreground or whatever that is, like the hair and everything, or the big mane flowy clouds are physically like wrapping around. You have it coming over on the bottom right hand side there.
Her. And the same thing goes for the yellow in the ground. It's a circle, and it seems like that with the combination of the hair, it seems like it's wrapping around her. It's coming over her, and it's wrapping around her, and it's starting to become all-encompassing. It really gives off a great mood for the piece in general.
Yeah. Yeah, just like as standout art pieces that have a lot going for them, I've always loved this comic book cover. And this comic book cover alone really makes me want to read, like, just the My Little Pony comic series.
I really need to be better about those. We got, absolutely, yelled at by Mahauer.
Yeah, Mahauer's getting our butts for it. He's like, you guys have to read. Did he actually make you guys read that?
No.
He was going to.
No, he was going to.
He was going to make me read it too. He's like, you guys can't leave this convention without reading this. Then we left the convention.
And then we left the convention. Yeah. So, yeah, that's our 4 art pieces for today. That's our new format that we're trying out this episode, and who knows where it'll go from here, but maybe we'll do something like this again in the future. Please let us know what you think. Leave us some comments and stuff, and see if that's the kind of thing that you guys want to see in the future. So we've got a couple of questions today. I rounded up some questions because we don't have our question master this week. So I guess I'll just go right into them. They're both really quick. So this should be good because we're getting up on time here. The very first one is from Meti Bobo, and he says, have you guys ever planned on a Cutie Art Crusaders animated adventures? And the reason why I wanted to talk about this one is from us? No. None of us are animators, and but we are doing webcams for this episode, so that's almost like an animated adventure.
We're physically animated.
We're very animated personalities. So, to answer your question, we have no plans to. It would be incredibly difficult for us to do it. If people want to do it, hey, we're totally okay with that. Feel free to, 100%. But no, as for like us doing anything,
make nice complex things of us.
More things. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. The second question is from Otaku AP, and he asks, is there a list of all the questions that have already been asked? I mean, you're at the 90th episode while I'm writing this, so, oh geez, that was like 20 weeks ago. And that would make roughly 170 or 180 questions asked. So, this is an interesting thing that I wanted to kind of tie into the plugs as Bernd strokes himself in plushie form. So recently, we haven't always been super organized with the way that we took questions. We had like, an email that we were looking into, and then we would transfer that over into another document. But what I did recently, because I was getting annoyed at it, I made a spreadsheet. Because I've learned the wonders of spreadsheets thanks to my work. And so I made this spreadsheet, and we've got a list of all the questions that I could gather that we kept track of. Obviously, we missed some because we don't have 170 answered, but I've got them in categories of
unanswered, ones that we have answered on the show before, ones that we're not going to answer either because they've been asked before or we don't see a way of ever being able to talk about that or whatever reason. And I've been thinking, because it's a Google spreadsheet, I've been thinking I think I'm just gonna put out the link and make it so that people can't edit it, obviously. But like, I'm gonna have it so you guys can leave comments. First of all, I'm gonna leave it open so that you guys can leave comments. So maybe you guys can leave comments saying, "Hey, you missed this question. It was on this episode." Blah 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 blah. Or I don't know, something else like that. I'm thinking about just doing that and seeing what happens.
Hey, why don't you answer my question?
Yeah,
you guys
exactly.
suck.
It's right here. But at the very least, then that way you guys can see the questions and you can go like, oh, I wonder if this has been asked before, and you can search.
I wonder why they ignored my question. Those guys were jerks.
Yeah. So you guys can leave comments. So you can right click and leave a comment, and you can view it. So yeah, hopefully that will make it easier for everyone, and it'll make people all happy about that. So yeah, that will be. Where are we going to put that? Where are we going to put that link?
On our DeviantArt?
Yeah, we're going to put it on our DeviantArt somewhere. Let's
people who actually care about our show, like, go to our DeviantArt, I would assume.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. So we're going to put it right in our like Deviant ID. There's going to be a link at the bottom that says click here to go to the questions spreadsheet. So you can go there and check it out.
You can find the link to our DeviantArt in the YouTube description.
Exactly. Beautiful. Anyways, I guess that transitions right into the plugs then. So, Bernd, do you want to do the plugs?
Such a short episode. Yeah. So, the plugs. Places you can find us. We have a DeviantArt. It's cutieartcrusaders@deviantart.com. We'll have a favorites folder in the description of this YouTube video. We have a email that you contact us at. That's cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. And we have a Tumblr now, which is cutieartcrusaders.tumblr.com. And you can tweet at us at cutieartcrusade. You can also tweet at all of us individually. You can find us on Twitter. And then we have a Facebook, which is facebook.com/cutieartcrusaders, and you can give us a like or contact us there as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what's gonna end up, whether or not people are gonna really enjoy this format or not. It's kind of something that's a bit out there, but I don't know. I think it was a really interesting episode. I think it was really different, and that's kind of tonight, after all the stuff that we went through, I feel like this has been really refreshing and like something cool to do.
Like this, yeah, and it's really casual, you know, like, and that's kind of what we strive for, is to be kind of just casual and pleasant. Like, we're just like two guys having a Skype call with the webcams, and then we grab the pony, like, I like this pony art, like, here we go, and present it, we talk about it. And, you know, that's kind of what a podcast is. It's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I mean, we've always tried to have that, like, kind of casual atmosphere, but I don't know, it's nice being able to, like, look at your face while you talk. Although, I have noticed that I make a lot of hand gestures.
You do. Like, so, I noticed that I haven't made a lot of hand gestures. I've just kind of been, like... But yeah, no, you've been very animated. It's something in the Sibsy panel. You weren't there for the Sibsy panel, but, like, a joke she made is she's from Italy, and it took her forever to get rid of this. Yes.
Oh, and then I need to explain something to
yes,
you.
Yeah, yes, quite.
Yeah. I've always done that during the podcast, though. Like, you guys haven't seen it, but the entire time I'm doing this kind of stuff, and I'll, like, measure something, and I'll be over here, and then, so I've always been, like, super animated.
I even did it this episode, like, I'll point at stuff, like, on my screen, which you guys can't see, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if we're gonna do this webcam thing again. I want to try the theme stuff out, and I want to see how people react to that. I want to see how people react to us releasing the list of questions, and if that really works out, and if that kind of generates some cool stuff. I don't know what the heck we're gonna do with the webcams though, because we can't do this on a weekly basis. It's too much of a nightmare, especially to edit. I mean, poor Bernd. You're editing this week, and you're gonna have to.
Yeah, it's just like you throw the video in there, like you sync it, you just chop it like it's audio. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So yeah, let us know, guys. You know, we always appreciate feedback. We're always looking for new stuff to do, different stuff to do, and I mean, the only way that we're gonna know about that is if you guys leave us a comment, and you know, whether or not that be on like DeviantArt or shoot us an email or whatever. You know, those comments are really, it really drives us, because, you know, people don't realize this, but we don't get like a huge amount of them, right? Like we don't get like constant comments throughout the day. You know, we get like maybe one a day through like all 5 or 6 different things, and it's good. It really motivates us, and it really makes a difference because we get like one or 2 or 3 or 4 a week, and then those comments have a big impact on us. So yeah. I mean, I guess that's really everything for this week, isn't it?
Yes, we have other crud we wanted to blab about.
No, Bernd, how was your day? Did you have a good day?
My day?
You're really blurry on my screen, so you're gonna come out blurry in the video. But
yeah, just work, dude. Like, I guess work went okay. Like, my sales for the day were all right, but
let's talk about your eyebrows.
God damn, I was hoping we wouldn't bring that up. We'd just forget about it.
Come on, like one more story. One more story.
All right, so I work at a waxing center, and like I'm the counter guy for it, like kind of like a receptionist or whatever. I'm the guest service associate, so I check people in and like sell them services or whatever. But I get any waxing services that I want half off. And so I can get my eyebrows waxed, and so it's normally like $18, but it's half off, and then I have store credit for other things because I work there. So it's like $4, and then like I can get my eyebrows waxed. So I did that today before the podcast, like not even thinking about it. I didn't even know we were gonna do this webcam thing.
Yeah.
But then like I made the joke before we started. It's like, how do my eyebrows look? Like, yeah, I just got them waxed today.
I did it just for this podcast.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's really cool that you work at a waxing place. I've never stepped foot in a waxing place before, so I don't even know what goes on in there. I just imagine that like weird stuff goes on, and like there's like rooms that are closed off, and like people start screaming behind them. So you guys might just be torturing them or something.
Hear yelps.
Yeah, exactly. It scares me. No thanks. I'm good. All right. Well, that's everything, folks. That's the podcast. That's episode 111. Crazy Bernd and Rainbowplasma show with webcams, and oh my god, are you picking up all those ponies? Oh my god. Alright, well now I'm going to have to do it as well, so. Thanks a lot, Bernd. Now I'm going to have to carry. See, I've got more than you, they're just smaller. Don't pull out anymore, please. I want to win at something.
This is all I have. This is my collection, these 4, and I'm happy with them.
Ponies. I can't really hold them like you can. I can't. Look at that. What's that?
Yeah, mine are pretty sturdy. They kind of stick together.
I can't hold all these ponies. That clip
Why
is
can't I hold
that
all
clip
these
is going to forever
ponies?
be on the internet, by the way. I'm really glad about that.
We're normal people. Bronies are normal people.
I'm going to be doing like a job interview, and they're going to Google my name, and they're going to be like, what is this clip? Why does it have like 1 million views of him saying,
I'm just like any other person. I'm completely normal. I have a bunch of stuffed horses next to me, and I record a show.
We need to wrap up. We need to wrap up. Twilight's saying that we need to wrap up, so we need to wrap up. So, yeah, that's everything for this week, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was weird, but I liked it. So I hope that other people like it as well. Yeah, that's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed. Whether or not you're on the live stream or on YouTube, we love you all the same. My name is Rainbowplasma.
My name's Bernd.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye. Well, that was cool.